My name is Anne, and I was in Germany when the war started in 1939, 1st of September 1939. I was living in Stuttgart, Germany, that's in the southwest, and I was just turning 13 in August. And the big question was, what is going to happen? It was the unknown that everybody got so worried and excited, and it was very frightening, actually.
I remember when I was like 6, and when the aircraft were, what was it they called it, the Battle of Britain, and the Messerschmitts were taking care of the bombers coming over, and the Spitfires and the Hurricanes would go up, and they do what they call a dogfight. Just I would actually stand out on our front lawn and watch these guys up there fighting each other, and every now and again a plane would veer off with smoke coming out of the back end. And I mean, I was just a kid, and I thought this was all pretty exciting, I guess. I can't remember being scared of anything.
In December of '41, I was a senior in high school, and the war had started. I remember President Roosevelt making the speech saying, "We are at war with Japan."
When we heard on the radio that Stuttgart was bombed, it must have been Saturday night, and the whole town moved towards where supposedly the bombs were falling, and it was incendiaries, bombs, and everybody, it was just like a Völkerwanderung to that place. Everybody was excited. What is it going to be? What those poor people, what are they going to do? And my own apartment building was with incendiaries, bombs. Some were with explosives, some were with incendiaries. It was a common every night that the siren started, and you try to go to either your own basement. If you hear the bombs falling already, you better go in your own basement.
So about 43, I think it was, they started sending those V1 and V2 rockets over, and they were again aiming for Southampton, but they're never very guiding systems like you do nowadays. So those things were missing. Most of those things were landing around our village, and just not hitting Southampton at all. One night we had a pretty traumatic experience. I was sleeping while I think everybody on the road was sleeping. There was no warning, and my grandmother, she'd got up. I think it was like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. She'd heard this rocket coming over, and had this funny sound, you sort of hear the engine like it was stopping and starting all the time, and quite loud. And she went to the front window I don't know why she'd done that, but she went to the front window to look out, and before she knew it, the thing had shut off its engine and come down and landed right across the street and blew the roofs off of all the houses. We had bungalows, one-story houses. Blew her roofs off, and the glass got blown in her face. Grandmother actually recovered. She was blinded, and but she was in hospital for quite some time.
I joined the Coast Guard in 1944. The war had started, my brothers had left, and things were boring at home. And we marched, and we drilled, and we marched and drilled.
There was one night when I wanted to go to the junior rosary in church, and I started out walking, and it was a nice fall day, and all of a sudden I look up, and what is going on here? There was a flare, there was another flare, and there was a flare. So it was a square, and by the time I figured out what is going on here, the bombs were falling into that square. And one of the bombs that was pretty close, it must have been an explosive, because the air pressure just hit me against the wall of a house.
I remember when President Roosevelt died. That was in '45, I think. I was working at the dime store, and when I came home on the bus was crowded like it always was, and someone mentioned that he had died, and we didn't even know who the vice president, who would be the next president. I mean, we didn't know him, and that was sad because my family really liked President Roosevelt.
I was on duty in the galley, and someone came in, one of the boys that was stationed there, and he said, "It's over, it's over, it's over." And we just dropped everything. Everybody came from the office up above and from the galley. We all ran into the street. We went arm in arm down the streets. I'm reliving the day. Well, just to think of the boys that lost their lives. We lost a lot of boys in our neighborhood. One was Stanley, that lived across the street. And one was, he was a Polish boy. He taught me how to do the polka. They lost their lives in the war.